Today we're going to start Memvav, Kesubos stuff, Memvav, that's 46a. We're going to start from my Rabbana, my Rabbalaz ben Yaakov. The line starts Li'ish Hazeh, and there's skinny lines, middle-sized lines, and wide lines. It's in the middle of the middle lines. My Rabbana, my Rabbalaz ben Yaakov. Okay, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. Let's have a learning we should have the base of Migdash immediately. So we mentioned yesterday that there's a machlekes between the Tanakama, the Rabbanan, and Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. We connected that machlekes to another machlekes, and this was regarding how exactly the Mitzvah Shemra works. Mitzvah Shemra is the defamer. He says that his wife is not a virgin. How does that work? Is it because he had relations with her and he finds out that she's not a virgin? Or is it because he has witnesses that she was with someone else? Or is it all based just on his own relations with her? And we would need witnesses also for the story to play out, but is that an important part of this, the relations that the husband had with her? So that was a machlekes. So the Gemara says, "My Rabbanan, my Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov." What was this that you're mentioning these opinions? The Tanya, because we have a brisa. Keitzad eitzah shemra. How does it work? The mighty shemra. Where is it in Parshas Ki Seitzei? Right, I think Parshas Ki Seitzei. It's coming up. So it says over there.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Moshe. It says that here's the brisa. Brisa says like this. Bola Bezdin Vamar. The fellow, which is the husband, he comes to the Bezdin and he says, Pliny. Yeah, I could have read this Vamar Pliny, but I think it's Vamar, and he says, Pliny. He's talking to the father of the girl. That's like, Mister, your daughter wasn't a virgin. So if there's witnesses that she had relations with someone while she was married to him, that means while she was betrothed to him, because the betrothal was a year earlier usually, right? So if there's witnesses that she had relations with a different man, so yesh l'ksuba mana, then she only gets a ksuba of a mana. No, the Gemara says 1 sec. Mana is 100 coins. We had this Gemara before, so you know already that there's a problem here. It says im yeshidim shezin tzatachtav yesh l'ksuba mana baskilahi. If there's witnesses that she had an affair, she committed adultery, so then she only gets a ksuba of a mana. That's the issue. That's what she gets. She gets skila. She gets stoned. She doesn't get any money. Like Gemara says, Hachi. So it adjusts the brisa. It goes like this: if there's witnesses that she lived with someone while she was betrothed to this husband, then she gets stoned. That's the halacha of a nara, that nara marasa gets skila, as opposed to a eishasish, which gets chenek. A katana would get nothing, right? It's only right. Zinsami kara, but let's say she had relations before the betrothal. So then what happened now? The only thing that happened now was that he was misled into thinking that she's a virgin. But that doesn't mean that she's deserving of the death penalty. She claims she was a virgin, she's really not. So now we're following the view that says yesh l'ksuba mana. We had a big machlekes. I think it was in Yavam. No, it was here in this Masechta. We had a big machlekes. If Nasi Isha Cheskas Basula V'nimtza Spula, he was assuming that she's a virgin. Turns out that she wasn't. Does she get any ksuba, or do we say the whole thing is a mekach tais? So we're following now the view that there is a ksuba here. That the ksuba is 100. She does get a ksuba. Nimtza sheshem ra, ain't a shame ra. Turns out that, let's say he's a liar. He was defaming her. So who like V'naisin me'asela? he gets lashes and he has to pay 100 coins. Bain ball, bain lay ball. Whether he had relations with her, whether he didn't have relations with her. Now that's the view that says that the Moitzi Shemra does not actually need to have relations with her. The Gemara is going to go through how it worked exactly. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, when you read that verse, it's pretty clear, the verses in Parshas Kiseitze, it's pretty clear that he had relations with her, and he finds that she's not a virgin. So Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, the whole story is only talking about her after they had relations. And then he comes to court, he says she wasn't a virgin. The Gemara elaborates on the Brisa. It says, Bishleim le Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. We understand well what Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov is saying. It says over there that if a man marries a woman and he comes close to her and he comes onto her and he says that she wasn't a virgin, so we get what's going on. He had relations with her. What is it talking about? It says he comes onto her, he comes close to her. He didn't have relations with her. What is it? What do the psukim mean that he comes onto? The Gemara says, it's figurative. He comes onto her with a accusation. That's what it means. He comes onto, not that he has relations with her. He comes to her with accusations. He comes close to her. What does that mean? Bidvarim, with words. That means he comes to her with a claim that she's not a virgin. Not that he actually had relations and he's saying that. Yeah, those terms of Baila are figurative. Okay, let's go further. Just the quote that he's saying, I did not find your daughter to be a virgin. I did not find the virginity of your daughter to have the virginity. We understand what that means because he had relations with her. But according to the first opinion, what is it talking about? It says, I didn't find her to have the fitness, that she was the witnesses that would say that she's a psula.
So in this time, speaking loudly, speak in this time, next times, did a man have a right to make the presumption that a girl is a psula? I'm unclear whether she misrepresented or he could just assume during this case.
There has to be, in order for her to get the death penalty, there's going to need to be witnesses.
Talking about the
Oh, for the ksuba? It's going to be, what is she claiming?
if she hasn't claimed any.
Okay, but we're going to have to ask her. What is she going to say? Yeah, but let's say she says she's a mukaseitz. I mean, we didn't actually claim that. Yeah, but then we had a whole discussion. What does a ksuba, does a mukaseitz get the ksuba of a? Yeah. Yeah, so she's got to make a claim, and then based on that claim, then we'll see if she actually claims that she's a mukaseitz. Then I think she still gets the same ksuba.
This is after the fact. She's responding to this claim and based in it's not a virgin.
Right.
What I'm saying is before the chuppah, she right to just assume that she's a virgin because halachically, if she was Mizana and he was Mizana, they're not holding peace out of COVID. Not a problem, is it?
No.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, fine, you're not supposed to have contact. Everybody's
We're discussing if he had an assumption that she was a basula, and that's what the contract said. Now she turns out that she's not a basula. Asking why does she get it even 100? That's according to this. Okay, that was that discussion. If it's considered an entire mekach tois, or if it's just
Too often this whole past few days, the idea of being witnesses, or you just have being.
yeah. So the witnesses are talking about if she had if she had an affair earlier. Okay, so we're explaining now that what does it mean like mitzasi lebitcha besulim? I didn't find your daughter's virginity, so it's saying now I didn't find your daughter to have the fitness of, which means the witnesses that would say that she's a virgin. The father defends his daughter. The father shows up with a cloth that has blood on it that says, "See, my daughter was a virgin." So, and she says, this is the virginity of my daughter. So good, they had relations. He has the cloth that has the blood on it. Ela Rabbanan, my vela besula biti, but according to the Rabbanan that say that they didn't even need to have relations. What's he talking about? That these are the virginity of my daughter. They never had relations. Ela kshere besula biti means these are the witnesses that she's pure, that she never had relations with anyone else. Now, that's going to be very difficult to prove because witnesses that said that she had relations is witnesses that witnessed something. Witnesses say that she didn't have relations would have to be witnesses that were there 24/7. It's a very difficult thing to prove. Okay. The way to prove it was like this. He's coming in with witnesses saying that she had relations with someone else. The father's showing up with witnesses saying that those witnesses are Zaymamin. They were with us somewhere else. So that's how he can prove it. Not that he has a security camera, that's we're going to use that so no one was there. Okay. It says they spread out the sheet, show that she was a virgin. Ella l'Rabbanan, which shows the blood on it. Ella l'Rabbanan, my parsa asim. According to Rabbanan, what do you mean they spread the sheet? There was no sheet. There was no relations. Amar Bavo parshu masha samla. They spread out what he placed on her. Okay. Kedetanya was taught in a brisa parsa simla. They spread out the sheet. Malamet shabo edim shalzev edim shalzev bayram esadav kesimla chadasha. The witnesses of this one come and the witnesses of this one come and they clarify it, and it's like they investigate and interrogate the witnesses and they clarify it like a new sheet comes. So it's again figurative. They spread it out like means they clarify what happened. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov midvarim kiksavam simla mamash. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says no, it's talking about an actual sheet. Okay. Shalach Rabbi Yitzchak bar Rabbi Yaakov bar Giyurei Mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan. Okay. Afal gav shlematzina b'chol ter kula shechalak hakasa b'mbia kadarka l'bia shlei kadarka l'makas lo'inshin aval mitzi shem rachalak. In the whole Torah, in all the forbidden relations, everything where it says that you can't marry this one, can't marry that one, there was never any distinction between what does it mean to have relations? Does it mean only in the natural manner or is in the abnormal manner? It's like sodomy. So there's never any difference. It's always forbidden. Always the same halacha. If there's a death penalty there, it's the same thing. It's a death penalty. However, when it comes to the Mitzi Shemra, there's a difference. Why is that? So it goes like this. That by the Mitzi Shemra, that's not specific. But Yetzi Shemra Kedarka. He needs to say, what he's saying is that she's not a virgin. Not a virgin means that only that she had relations in a natural manner. That would mean that she wasn't a virgin. So the husband is now showing up. What type of relations does he have with her? It's the first relations. Well, what this statement of Rabbi Yochanan says, we don't care about what type of relations he has with her. The only thing we care about is what type of relations he's claiming had with her, the affair. That had to be unnatural relations because he's claiming that she's not a virgin. So over there, this is the only place where the halacha is that when he says relations, it means that it was in a natural manner. Okay. The only problem with this is, come on, who are you following? Because we have a machlekes here between Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov and the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said relations doesn't matter. And Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, I found that she's not a virgin. How does he know she's not a virgin if he didn't have relations in the natural manner? So, Ikar Rabbanan, afagav d'leibal. If it's the Rabbanan, then even if he didn't have relations, Ikar Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, and they both need to be in the natural manner. He's claiming that she's not a virgin, and because of a relation that she had before, that made her not a virgin. Okay, problematic statement of Rabbi Yochanan. It doesn't fit with any opinion. Allah shalach Rav Kana mishmeid Rabbi Yochanan. Rather, Rav Kana sent in the name of Rabbi Yochanan ina chayav ad shival kadarka v'yitzashem kadarka. Rav Kahana adjusted the brisa in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Now, what's Rav Kana doing by Rabbi Yochanan? Rav Kana was a student of Rav, but he does get around. He ended up by Rabbi Yochanan because when they told Rabbi Yochanan, Ari Olam Mibavel, he should be careful. At the end of Baba Kama, he shows up in by Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan ends up. Rav Kana had the cleft palate, and Rabbi Yochanan thought he was laughing at him, and Rabbi Yochanan felt bad. And Rav Kana died, and then Rabbi Yochanan revived him. So anyway, probably from the halachas over there we have this. There was a snake. Remember the snake around the cave? It said, "Open up," so the teacher could see the student. It didn't open up. Anyway, basically, Rav Kana was a very great man. Okay. So we adjust it, and then when he adjusts the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, it comes out that Rabbi Yochanan would have, his statement does fit according to the view of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Here we start a new Mishnah. It's a new topic. Ha'av zakei bebitei, the father has the rights of his daughters b'kiddusheha when he marries her off. May mean the rights to marry her off. May mean the rights to the money that he keeps when he marries her off. Rashi says that he keeps the money. B'kesef, b'shtar, u'b'biyah. Well, what does that mean? That means he takes the money, he keeps the money, he marries her off, he keeps the money. He can accept the document also that the husband gives. Now, the document is not a kesuba. The document is a document that says, Harayat Mekudeshes li b'shtar zu. It's a document that says that this is the marriage document. There's a ring that he would give, that the husband would give the bride. The father takes it.
So this is what the husband used to tell me.
Yeah. He puts the ring. This is no, we're talking about a girl, a young girl. Yeah, katana or a nara. So he would put the ring on his father-in-law's finger. No, that's how it would work.
Doesn't say anything here that's the money.
Wedding ceremony.
He gives the ring to the father, to her father. Yeah, this would be the artist's rendition of this Gemara would be two men under the chuppah. Yeah. By chuppahs neither they give the ring to her anyway. They put it on her. Just he doesn't touch her. Okay. What else? The document ubabiyah doesn't mean that there's biyah with the father. Of course, biyah means that the father has the rights to give his daughter to any man that he wants, and for biyah, for biyah to take place, and he has the rights to hand her over. So he has that sort of ownership over her. Zakai b'mitziyasa, he also takes if she finds something. She comes home with something, the father keeps it. Maisia if she gets a job, the father keeps it, keeps the income. But first nidara, he can annul her vows. Makabala skita. If she was betrothed, the father can say, okay, he accepts the divorce from the husband. The father can accept the get. What about her? Can she accept the get? Probably, yeah. He's not a shliach.
Can't.
The daughter didn't make him a shliach. However, let's say she's independently wealthy from her mother's family. Now she owns property or something, or has machinery, tools, or something. The father has no rights to any of that while she's alive. If the daughter would pass away during the father's lifetime, he would inherit her. But right now, it belongs to her independently. It's her own personal items. Nissis, let's say she gets married, then Yesser alav habal, then besides that, the husband has all these rights over her, but he has also more things. So the husband actually does eat the produce of her property. But the husband is obligated to support her. He has to redeem her if she's taken captive, and he also has to pay for her burial. Rabbi Yehuda adds in that even a poorest person is obligated to have at least 2 flutes, plus a woman that will cry at the funeral. You have to hire a crier. Yeah. Okay. The Gemara now discusses what's the source that the father can keep the money for this, and how he keeps that, and all of the rights that he has, and then the Gemara will discuss what's the source that the husband has all of that. Because of Minalan, where do we know that the father has those rights to keep the money of the kedushin? If he sells her as a maidservant, so the pasuk says that she works for 6 years or whatever. Not does it say 6 years? And she works until there's several things, until she reaches maturity, and then she goes out ein kasef without having to pay. She goes free without having to pay herself free to redeem herself. Ein kasef ladan zeh. That means that for this master, there is no money that she has to pay. However, yesh kesef ladan acher, but there is money to another master. Who is that? Amanu avia. Yeah, one of the options over there is probably what's going on. No, that's bisimani naras. When she reaches maturity. Now, so who does get the money? The father gets the money. Now, what is the Gemara referring to? Is the Gemara referring to when the father sold her originally, that the father gets the money? Or is the Gemara referring to that the father has the rights to sell her into a marriage and keeps the money? Is this directly referring to marriage, or is it referring to other money that the father gets? And then we'll understand from that. Let's see further. Omanu, who is the other master that gets money for her? Avia, it's the father. When it says this in your commentary there, Jeff, does it say it's referring to the marriage money, or is it referring to the selling money? Rashi says it's it just says kashiyotzer mereshusay. I guess it means in marriage. Veimaladida. I'm sorry.
Corn says betrothal. Money.
Betrothal. Right. Betrothal.
Betrothal.
Veimaladida. How do you know that the money goes to the father? Maybe the money goes to her. It says over here, ein kasef. There's no money when she goes out. She doesn't have to pay. The master doesn't get any money when she leaves. She leaves the master simply because she's old enough, and she just goes out. But maybe in another instance she would get money. The Gemara says, 1 second. Hashta via makabel kedusha. We know that the father can receive her kedusha, and the father has the rights to marry her off. We have the verse by the Mitzvah Shema that says, "I gave this my daughter to this man." That means the father can marry off. Shakla kaspa, but she takes the money. Obviously, he gives it to this man, means that the father has full control and he takes the money. The Gemara says, maybe that's only talking about when she's a child. The father would keep the money. Maybe by a nara, when she's 12, in between 12 and 12 and a half, she can marry herself off and she keeps the money. The Gemara says, Benura Besavia means that while she's a nara, she's in her father's house, the father has the rights to annul her vows. The way the Gemara is learning it is Benura Besavia, that when she's a nara, she's in her father's house, and the father has the rights to the money of kedushin. 1 second. Rav Huna says in the name of Rav, how do we know that the income that a girl makes belongs to the father? It says that a man can sell his daughter as a maidservant. But just like as a maidservant, the income would go to the master. So also the daughter, the income would go to the father. The problem is, according to you, you have a source from Benura Besavia. What do I need this whole source from B'chiyim Kerishas Pitulama? Lamali, typically Benura Besavia. You have two sources that are telling me the same thing, that their income goes to the father. The Gemara says, well, Rav Huna Marav would say that verse that says Benura, while she's 12, she's in her father's house, that just means that the father can annul the vows. It's not talking about the money. 1 second. If the father can annul the vows, maybe that means also the father has the rights to the money. It says, no, you can't learn money from ritual law. What about a knas? The knas is that if the girl was raped or seduced, the father gets the money. See, money. It says, well, you can't learn money from a penalty. It's a different type of money. Over there's a penalty, there's a fine on the rapist, the seducer, and now you're telling me that means that if the father gets the money, so therefore the father should also be able to get the money of kedushin and not the daughter. That I don't know.
Just want to ask actually. It's generally like who's responsible for paying for the kedushin and deos?
Yeah, so the husband pays, and if she's under 12 and a half, the money goes to the father. That's what we're learning here. 1 second. Part of that penalty also included a regular money. He had to pay for her depreciation of value and also for the embarrassment. It says, well, Shani the reason why the father gets that, what we wanted to say was that if the father gets it, then automatically that would tell us that the father gets the money for the kedushin, and then I won't need any other source. The reason why the father gets that is because the father also has some sort of embarrassment, and also her depreciation also would affect the father in some way. How would the depreciation affect the father? Other than his ability to marry her off.
This grade, ornament sort of is that a general principle?
It's mentioned in other places in the Gemara, and it's definitely a way out when you're trying to ask a question. But we're trying to ask a question here, so we say, well, you're asking a question, but it's not necessarily you're assuming something that's not necessarily accurate. So Elam Mistabra, rather, it's logical. The Chimamayit Rachmana Yitzia the Kavasei Kamamayit. So, okay, what's the pshat over here? This different pshat Rashi brings from the Shiltes. Yeah, the idea here is that the way that she leaves the master. She doesn't, if she would leave earlier than her maturity, then she would need to pay her way free by there's a certain amount of money that would go to the father for the amount of years that she would be there. So she would have to give back that money and to go out because she was sold for a certain amount of time. So when she goes out, when she reaches maturity, over there would be no money. And now what does that have to do with the marriage? Oh, Rashi's pshat is that both of them, just like over there, she goes out by it as a Nara. When she reaches Nara, so too over here, she goes out. Also, so too over here, the father gets the money when she's a Nara, even when she's a Nara, not just as a Katana. How do they translate it over there? This point, Yitzia the Kavasai.
I lost my place.
Let me see. Take a look. Yeah. Rather, the Gemara returns to okay. Why does she not take the money herself? It's reasonable to assume that when the merciful one excludes a case by means of this verse, he excludes the case of a girl where a girl leaves someone's authority in the corresponding situation to the case that he made. So yeah, so they avoided any pshat. Okay, they didn't say anything. Okay. So now the Gemara says there's a problem there because you just did a comparison that the father should get the money of the kedushin. In contrast, it's not a comparison; it's a contrast. In contrast to the master that doesn't get any money when she goes free. Damya, but it's not comparable. The way she goes out of the master is not the same way she goes out from the father when she gets married. But when she leaves the master, she's done. When she leaves the father, she's not done. She's still not married. She only becomes fully out of the father when she gets married. The Gemara says, well, but she's still out of the father regarding Afaris Nadarim because the father can't annul the vow fully on his own because the Tanan Naram Rasavia Ubailam Efirim Lanadara. He needs the husband to also annul the vow as well. So okay, so she leaves the father's jurisdiction by the Erisin as well. Okay. Now we go to the next case of the Mishnah to see the source of that. It said that the father can accept a shtar kedushin and he can also hand her over to Bia. The Gemara says shtar or Bia minalan. Where do we know that from? She marries to someone else. Over there, it's telling us that any sort of marriage is compared one to another, and if he would if he would accept the money for the kedushin, then he can also accept the shtar, and he can also give her over to a husband for Bia. Zakai b'mitziyasa. It says that the father takes if she finds an object. Why does the father keep that? It says, well, the father's not really obligated to support her. Now, since the father does support her, even though she is already 6 years old and she theoretically should could already make a living, should fend for herself, but in order for the father to appreciate that he's supporting her, well, he also keeps in exchange for that, he keeps if she finds something. And there's Ava. Ava means you shouldn't be like upset with her. Ava is what's the word that they use there? Hostility. Yeah. To take away any hostility. He should be appeased for the fact that he's supporting her. At least that's how Rashi learns. Enmity. Is that what it says? What does that mean also? Hostility. Okay. Maisi Adeh. He keeps her income, the product of the work of her hands. Minalan, where do we know that from? Ravuna says it in the name of Rav. We had this Ravuna in the name of Rav before today. Actually, probably the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. The same quote. Second time we're doing the same quote. Minayin Shemaisa Baslav. How do we know that the daughter keeps? I'm sorry, that the father keeps the income of the daughter? The man sells his daughter as a maidservant. So it says la'ama as a maidservant. Ma'ama ma'asiyadel rabba, just like the maidservant, her income belongs to the master. Afbas ma'asiyadel avi, also the daughter, her income belongs to the father. Maybe that's only if she is a minor. The matzim mizabin lavel narad le matzim mizabin le ma'asiyadel dida hava. Once she's a nara, the father can't sell her anymore as a maidservant. He can still accept her kedushin. The problem here is that now the symmetry is not perfect. You were telling us that the work of her hands goes to the master. Okay, that's fine, but that's by a katana because she's only a maidservant as a katana. Now you're telling me that the work of her hands belongs to the father, even when she's a naira. Doesn't match.
Well,
There's an extra 6 months there.
the Nara is kind of like in between state.
It's in between state.
guess
Yeah,
there's
but
some
for the
difference.
master, she's out. And for the father, she's still there. So Mistarba Davia have it. Makes sense that it still belongs to the father. This you gotta follow this logic. This is unbelievable. If it would enter your mind that the father doesn't keep her the work of her hands, so look at this. Let's say she has a job and she puts the money in her own bank account. So then the father is allowed to get her married off. The father is allowed to marry her off. How does he bring her to the chuppah? She's losing her own income. She tells the father, I don't want to go to the chuppah. I'm going to miss a day at work. And that's her money. And the father doesn't have rights to her money. It must be that the father has rights to her money. The Gemara says, Parach Rabachai. I wonder if this is the Rabachai, the Rabachai guy, like we had at the beginning. And we had a Rabachai on the first page of it. But someone said that it has to be an Amira, not one of the Gainim. So what was this? Parach Rabachai. Rabachai asks, maybe the father tells her, don't worry, I'll pay for your day off at work. I'll give you the wages of as it doesn't have to be as if she went to work, but schar batala, for not working. How much she would make just sitting there not work. I guess that's what it means. Inami the masala balelia. They did the wedding at night. There's no work at night. He didn't take her away from work. Inami the masala b'Shabbos v'Yom Tovim. Married her off on Shabbos and Yom Tov. I don't know how this works. I thought you weren't allowed to do a wedding on Shabbos or Yom Tov. On the weekend. Yeah.
I thought they've had weddings on Friday that lead
Yeah.
into Shabbos.
Yeah, I guess that's what it means. It means like Friday right before Shabbos. Okay. Right. Oh, so the chuppah would be on Shabbos. Oh, so you can't do the kinyan on Shabbos. The reason why not to do a wedding on Chol Hamoed was because of Ein Marvin Simcha B'Simcha, right? But on Yom Tif, was there another reason besides for Ein Marvin Simcha B'Simcha? Was it because of writing?
So
Mhm.
on Kol HaMoed, the simcha is greater than the.
No, there's another problem. It's not that it's greater. It's just that there's another problem. Even though I guess you would be allowed to write, or you're allowed to write on Chol Hamoed. I guess.
Couldn't you also get married through a shliach and still be at work?
Yeah, it's a good question. Get married through a shliach. The father. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Daniel, you got to put that in your book. No, here we're dealing with Arison. Yeah, just a ring. Such a good question. I mean, the father can take the ring. But the Gemara is putting it lemimsre lechupa hechimatzer masala. That it's more than just the Arison. It's going to the chuppah. So Taisus talks about this. You're not allowed to get married. Ain't marvin simcha b'simcha. Says there's an hour before Yom Tov. He's using the shliach anyway. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go further. Ela ktana leitzricha kra hashtizvuni mizbana maisidemi boy. I don't need a pasuk for the ktana. So the whole pasuk I'm using here is only for the nara. Okay, that's what we're saying. The whole limud. The whole pasuk is just telling me that the nara, the father is allowed to marry off, because the ktana I would understand anyway that he can marry her off, and not that he can marry her off, that he keeps her wages. But first, nidara, annulling of the vows, minalan. How do we know that? When she's nara, she's in her father's house. Mikabel Askita, you can receive or get. Minalan, where do we know that from? There's a comparison, divorce to marriage. And if he can do the marriage, he can do the divorce. He doesn't eat the fruits while she's alive. In other words, she doesn't, if she's independent, she has independent inheritance from her mother. The father can't eat the fruits of them. The Brisa tells us that the father does not eat the produce of his daughter's property while she's alive. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, this is Rabbi Yehuda bar Rabbi Elai's son. He says, the father does eat the produce. Well, the Micah Miflgi, what's the machlekes? The first opinion holds Bishleim Abal. We understand why the husband eats the fruits. He eats he can benefit from her property. He has an obligation to redeem her if she's taken captive. We don't want him to say, well, you have your own bank account. Let's use your money to redeem you. We don't want him to say that. Why? Because it could be that there's not enough money in her account. So we don't want him to just rely on that account. We want him to say, okay, it's your obligation 100%. And therefore, instead of him ever relying on her account for the redemption, we say you can use that. You can use, I don't know, the money in the account isn't the right way to do it. It's eat the fruits of the fruits of the trees or whatever to use the land. You're allowed to use to get the profits off this. And then when it comes to redemption, don't even look at her things. You're using it the whole time, so you have to redeem her on your own. But regarding the father, why should the father be allowed to eat the fruits? The mimnavle parik, you're going to say that he's not going to redeem her. He's always going to redeem her. So there's no reason to give the father the fruits. That's the income, not the income, the benefits of her property. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda savar. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, "Abnami mimnavle parik." The father also sometimes won't redeem her. Savar kisa nikita ilave teitzel v'tifrik nafsha. She has a purse full of money that's waiting for her. Let her redeem herself. It happens sometimes that they have like these money that's left for the children are wealthier than the parents, even though they never went to work or whatever, because they have some sort of inheritance that they have, and the parents are really waiting for the kids to reach maturity to get some, they can start to use that money. So there's Rabbi Yehuda has that concern here. So let her redeem herself. She'll be 18 or whatever soon. She'll get her own money.
It's like the Haftorah. Will a mother ever abandon her child?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes yes, but Hashem won't abandon.
Right. When was that? Was that last week? If she gets married, then the father does eat the fruits. Taner Rabbanan. Kasavla Peris Ksus V'Kalem Sheyavaya Imami Beis Avia LeBeis Baila. Naftali, this is sort of your topic. Yeah, you were discussing this yesterday. If the father gives a dowry together with the marriage, he writes that he's going to give to the husband this clothing and vessels and fruits and mesa. She dies. The wife dies before the wedding, after the Erusin. But they never made it to the wedding. So, he doesn't get it. In the name of Reb Nosson, they said, no, he does get it. They already did the Erusin, the betrothal. He does get it. Let's say that there's actually a machlekes Reb Elazar ben Azariah in the Rabbanan Kamiflagi. That's the machlekes. The Tanan, we have a Mishnah. Let's say they get divorced or widowed. So what does the wife do with does she get the ksuba? If it's from the betrothal, they never actually were married, or if they were married, so goy vesakal, she gets the ksuba even from the betrothal. This is what she gets, right? She gets the ksuba. Our case, we're talking about he gets. Okay.
By the way, I didn't think of these issues. There are lots of records, cases, or based in the old days.
Right.
About she dies within the first year of marriage. Her father wants money back.
Right.
She dies without a child.
Right.
Father wants back.
Right. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says you're right, but when it comes to the marriage, that she would get everything, the whole ksuba. If the widowed or divorced from the Erusin, then it only gets the basic ksuba. Because the rest of the ksuba, that was only written for her, given to her for the actual marriage. Knows the Tesefes ksuba. The one that says that the husband does not the loizacha means that the husband doesn't get the one that says that the husband doesn't get the dowry. That's because he holds Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He holds like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, which his view was that only at the actual wedding is everything agreed to, not just the betrothal. Manda merzacha karabanan, and the one that holds that that the husband does get the dowry, he holds like the Rabbanan that says that she would get the whole ksuba, even if the marriage never worked out. It was just betrothal. Gemara says, like, not necessarily is this machlekes, that machlekes. The Kuli Alma Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, everyone holds like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Then when it comes to the ksuba, she only gets the basic ksuba, and the rest of it she doesn't get. She doesn't get the tisavos. Manda malaizacha, the one that says that the husband doesn't get it either. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that's easy. It matches perfectly. Manda merzacha, the one that says that the husband does get the dowry. Adkan, like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Why did Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say that when it comes to the ksuba, that the wife doesn't get everything, Elamididei lididash, like kasav la'almanas l'kainsa. Why did he give her the ksuba? He wanted to actually bring her into the house. He wanted to live with her. Aval midida lididei, but from her to him, money's working in the opposite direction here. Afilu Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah maidi, or even Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah would agree that all she wanted was just mishum ichtuni. Who? V'achtuni lo. She just wanted to be married, and she was married. She was betrothed. That's good enough. That's what she wanted. Okay, let's leave it over here. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thanks.
Have a good day, Jimmy. Slacha.